Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. We got a new bright shiny bike sitting in front of me. This one's from Mokwheel, and this is the Scoria model. Now there's a lot of different changes they actually did to this thing since it last came out. You're gonna obviously notice the nice brown wall tires. They match up perfectly with this red candy paint job on here. You got a nice little silver lining right here. It says Class 2 e-bike. It is a 750 watt hub motor back here, 48 volt system with an almost 20 amp hour battery. I believe it's 19.6 amp hours, but you should get some decent range out of this thing. It's a pretty light bike at that. I think it's like 79 pounds, right under 80, and you can hold up to someone that's 350 pounds as well. And it comes with a cool rack right here that's wood. And if you guys want to match it up to the front, they do sell the front basket that also has the wood piece, so it will match up with the back. It'll look perfect, but you have to buy that separate. It doesn't come with it. Now, something you guys are gonna love about this bike right off the bat is that it is made for people that are starting at 5 foot going up to 6'1" or 6'2". So this is gonna be a perfect bike for shorter people. And you can see that I have my foot like all the way down and my knee is still bent right now. So if I put my feet completely down, I'm actually not even sitting on the seat. And you guys might have noticed that when I was sitting on this bike, it's actually not even at the bottom of how low this thing will go. So really quick, and we'll get into some other stuff. That's as low as the seat will go. And look at that. My feet are so bent. This is just way too low for me, but you can also raise it pretty high. It goes up to there. That's the maximum that you can lift it up to. So if you're like 6 foot, you could definitely get on this bike and ride it perfectly fine. So one of the coolest features about this bike, and maybe it's something that you don't even care about, but the fact that they added it into a bike like this is super cool. So you're gonna notice that you have one plug right here, and this is to charge the bike, and the battery sits right here, and you could charge it here, or you can take the battery out. You can charge the battery separately if you want. Right here is a torque sensor. We'll get into that a little bit later when we ride and kind of see how that is. But you have another plug right here. This plug is for an inverter, a 1,000 watt inverter that they sell on their website separately. It's 400 bucks. And then it's a big cylinder right here that sits in a bag. It straps up to the back right here. And then you could charge actual appliances from this battery that's in this bike. That is super cool that they thought of something like that. Now here is a look at the front end of this bike, especially the tires. The tires are the main thing I want to talk about because look at this tread design. It is so cool looking, and they actually feel pretty firm compared to the tires that they were putting on this a couple months ago. So I'm so glad they changed them. And it's a unique tire. I've actually never seen it on a bike before, but it is made by the same company that makes those cheaper tires because I can see the logo right on the side. But that brown sidewall with the red frame just looks so good. And then one other thing that they changed on this bike was the kickstand. So if you guys have ever seen reviews on this bike, they had a kickstand that went right in the middle, and it was a dual kickstand, so it kind of came out to the side on both legs. When people would fold it up, it wouldn't go so high, so when you hit a bump or turn, it would scrape on the ground. Now we just have one little kickstand on this side. It's a standard traditional kickstand that comes on all these bikes. Shouldn't have a problem. In the back of the bike, we're gonna have our 750 watt motor on a mag wheel, which is nice for this type of bike because mag wheels are stronger and there's no spokes that you need to tighten over time, especially after riding it for 500 miles, 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles. No maintenance required on those rims. You do have a 7-speed back here from Shimano. You also have a Journey Shimano derailleur as well, and that chain goes to a 44-2 sprocket up front. You also have a quick motor disconnect on the right-hand side, just in case you get a rear flat or you need to change out the rear tire, so that makes it pretty easy. And here's a closer look at the rear rack with that wood. And underneath this seat, which I didn't mention already, it does have a little bit of suspension into it. Not the seat post, but the actual seat itself. Here's a look at the headset and the stem from Zoom. They added a Class 2 sticker onto the bike. Some mounts to put a water bottle at. Here is the top of the bike if you were to sit on it for the very first time and see how the display and the handlebar setup is. Now I will say the cable management is a little messy on this bike, so if that bothers you, you might want to get some zip ties and clean that up because I just see wires going everywhere on this bike. But let's start off to the left-hand side. You got some leather grips over here. They do lock in place. They also have a gel type of filling in here, so we're gonna have to see how that is when we ride. Also a palm rest right here. And your throttle is on the left-hand side. It's this little thing right here, so you can pull that down. And then here is your button layout. So the top button is power, and then you got your up and down buttons for pedal assist 1 through 5, and then the headlight button is at the bottom. And then you have the horn at the very, very bottom. If it will focus, there we go. So let's turn this on so you guys can see how the display looks. It does take a while, not gonna lie. You gotta hold it for about 3 seconds and it pops up and it says hello. And you can see your speed. It says we're in eco mode, pedal assist 0, so it starts off in 0. The time that the bike has been on, I believe, in total, and then the trip as well, which I did 0.9 miles because I took it up and on the street to make sure it was working when I unboxed it. So I wanna come over here and I'll show you. If you go up pedal assist, you go up to 5. That doesn't change with eco mode. You can see that eco mode is still showing there. So I think it has something to do with this torque sensor. So we're probably gonna have to pedal this bike and just see what happens out on the road and see if that changes to sport or what it changes to. And then moving over onto this side is where you have your 7-speed, and then you have the shifter on this side to use your thumb, and then you also have the other one on the other side for your index finger. And you get Tektro brakes with this as well, and they have 180mm rotors from Tektro as well. So now that I have the bike turned on, let me turn off these lights so we can see what these lights on the bike look like. It is dark in here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man, okay, hopefully we can kind of now see. This headlight right here, I got to adjust it. It's a little too down, but that is not looking like a good headlight. I like the fact that there's no scatter light on the ground or on the sides, but that doesn't really look promising. And I'll go a little bit farther back so you guys can see. It does get a little bit wider, but I don't know, it just doesn't look as bright as some of these other e-bikes. Now coming over here though, here is how the brake light looks. And if you do hit the brake levers, it can be the right side or the left side, you're gonna see that it activates and gets brighter. And with my eyes, it looks decent. It looks like the same one that comes on the Aerial Rider e-bikes and some of the other mountain bikes I've got. So the fact that it's even got a working brake light in the back and it's centered on the bike, I'll take it. It's nice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the GoPro and we gotta see how fast this thing goes on throttle only. So their website says 25 miles per hour. I have not went into any settings and changed anything. So I'm really curious to see where it's gonna stop at, but it looks like we're going past it. And those speeds are 100% accurate. Every single time it changes, my phone changes. So that is awesome to see that those are working hand in hand. Now I won't have to actually pull over and show you guys our top speed because you're gonna see it right here. It's looking like it's a 28 mile per hour class 3 e-bike, even though it has a sticker on the bike that says class 2, which I kind of like, don't get me wrong. It lets you go on other trails where people are gonna be and people can't really complain or say anything. Even if there is someone out there like telling you like, hey, like you can't be out here, you can show them. No, my bike is legal to be out here because some places you can only go so fast on a trail. Now here's what I'm noticing right off the bat with this bike is that it has a wobble to it. And I was trying to look down to see if these tires weren't like fully seated on the wheel correctly, because sometimes if you have like one lopsided thing, you can kind of feel the tire like shift, but it doesn't look like it. I feel like it's just this tread pattern. I really like how these tires look, but they're feeling a little like going side to side. I'm not a big fan of that. So it's giving some odd vibration to the bike that shouldn't be there. But it also is depending on the road as well on when I'm feeling that vibration from the tires. I'm also noticing when I went over a big patch back there, and you're not gonna hear it over the GoPro, but it was picking up a lot of rocks and debris. It felt like I need mud guards on this thing like a car does to stop throwing rocks. It literally felt like it was picking up every little rock and like throwing it out. And here's something you guys might wanna know. So see how it says eco on this display right here? I know it's gonna be a little hard to see with the GoPro, but as we go up in speed, you're gonna see that the screen changes and it goes to power mode after about 15 or 16 miles per hour. So you're in eco mode if you're under 15 miles per hour. All right, so we're pulling up to our designated speed test and we're gonna see how fast this bike goes. So in general, in this little section, if you guys are new to the channel, most of my e-bikes and scooters, whatever I ride, at the very end of this, it normally reaches 27 miles per hour. And let's try not to whiskey throttle it, all right? I almost wrecked it and dropped it. So I'm gonna see how fast it goes to the end of the street. Let's go, 1, 2, 3. Throttle only, and then we'll do the pedals in the next section and see how that feels. But power feels decent. It's not too bad. It kind of comes on a little slow, and then it kind of has like a mid power curve and just kind of keeps going up. But not too bad, but okay, where is she going? All right, so we could have probably reached about 27 miles an hour. I feel like I gotta do that test again because I had to let off. So I'm gonna go back and do that one more time. 1, 2, 3. Again, throttle only. 15. So this actually lags a little bit behind that, but once you kind of get up to the same speed, they match the same. 25, 26. Can you do it? Come on, come on, we're almost there. Oh, just 26 miles per hour. So it's a little slower than your average e-bike that we normally get, but it still feels pretty good. Okay, so in this section, I got it in gear number 1. We're gonna use the pedals only, and we're gonna see how this torque sensor is, because that's one of the nicest features about this bike, and that's another reason why this bike is more expensive than your standard traditional bike that just has a cadence sensor. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that was instant. Holy crap. Oh, I gotta shift. I gotta shift. We already gotta go up in things. I feel like there's a lot of people out right now. It's kind of late, but so here's what I noticed. I'm pedaling like normal. I'm not trying to put too much effort into it. I feel a little bit like I'm ghost pedaling, so I feel like I would have liked the chainring to be bigger than the 44 tooth that they put on here. But what I'm noticing is I can't go any faster than 15 if I just pedal like a normal person. If I really push my feet into it, and I feel kind of stupid because my feet are like moving so damn fast, then I can go a lot faster. I feel like if they would have just added a bigger chainring onto this bike, it would have made the torque sensor feel so much better. But since they didn't, I just feel like it's a missed opportunity, and it just kind of feels like ghost pedaling after like 15, 16 miles per hour. All right, so now we're in the designated spot to see if this will go up the hill with throttle response only, and then we're gonna try it with the pedals only and use the torque sensor. I think the torque sensor is actually gonna come in handy in this section, but let's see how it does with throttle only. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's actually better than I thought. So that was pretty good, but let's see how the torque sensor and the pedals work. And I'm also gonna have to shift because they work pretty fast, and I'm not gonna be getting and picking up speed if I don't shift. So let's do this all at once. 1, 2, 3. Oh, dang it, so quick. Oh, wow, yes. Yes, that's the way to go if you need to get up hills, is just use the torque sensor and pedal. That felt so natural to get up this thing. Now these tires really aren't made for off-roading, and it has been raining a little bit. It actually rained earlier today. That's kind of why we're shooting this video a little late. If I had to tell you what these tires were for, I would say it's about 80 to 85% street and 15 to 20% dirt, because they do have a little bit of tread in them. But I am getting so much stuff hit in the face right now. Oh man, I'm really wishing these had longer fenders on this bike right now. I feel a bunch of stuff coming and hitting me. The back one should be okay though, because the back fender is a lot longer than the front. So off-roading with this bike, especially with not having rear suspension, actually felt really, really good. It looks like fun. All right, so let's get into the turning test of this bike. Now, I know it's subjective. A lot of people will probably say like, oh, like, why do you need to know that? And that's because some bikes, the way the suspension and handlebars set up, they act different. And something I noticed on this bike is that when I'm turning it like this, you get to a point like right here, like right there when you turn, you can feel the whole front of the bike just want to like turn like this really sharp. It reminds me of the Spark Bandit, and so the thing you got to remind yourself on this bike is don't try to turn it super sharp, and you're going to totally understand what I mean if you were to buy this bike or maybe even own it watching my video review. When you get to this point, you just feel the whole bike just want to like go like that, so just be careful. But one thing I do like about this bike is you can make U-turns super easy, like really, really easy. And look at the turning radius of this bike as well. Look at this. It goes all the way around in a circle. The only thing stopping it is the cables, and there's nothing you can do about the cables. So that's pretty cool that it goes all the way around. So depending on if you need to move it in your garage, lock it up somewhere, store it, it's very nice and easy to move the handlebars wherever you want without having to pick up the bike and like place it in different spots to get it where you need it. All right, so here comes the braking test, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta go as fast as I possibly can on this bike because it goes up to 27 miles per hour. So we gotta see how well it's gonna do. All right, here's the braking test. I'm going as fast as possible, 27 miles an hour. Woo! Man, that front suspension dipped down pretty fast. It's 110 millimeter travel in the front suspension. The brakes felt really good. They're from Tektro. I said that earlier, and they're hydraulic. They did lock up a little bit, but where's that line at? So there we go. There's a line that we stop out on all our electric bike tests, and it stops at the line or behind it. it's a good stopping e-bike. The bikes that stop after that line are normally bikes that have cable brakes and a lot of weight to them, and they just don't have pads that really connect to the rotors, or they have very smaller rotors. But this is a very good stopping e-bike, so safety wise, it's great. So the next thing I want to show you guys is the throttle response and the pedal response. So here we go. So throttle response, 1, 2, 3. It's crazy how like nice and gradual it is to get up to speed, but it does have a delay. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. It's maybe right under a second, coming up to a second when hitting that. So we're 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I want to say it's in between half a second and a full second. It's kind of in between, so it's not that bad of a throttle response, but let's see how fast the pedal response is. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, that's even quicker than the throttle. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's definitely quicker than the throttle by just a little bit. It's maybe half as fast as how this is. So I want to say it's probably half a second or less on the pedals, and that feels great. The only thing you got to keep in mind is that it also, since it has a torque sensor, is going to depend on what gear you're in too. So if you're in a very tall gear and you're at a low speed, it's actually going to take a little bit more input, but it also still activated pretty damn fast. Let me try that again. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so it had a little bit more lag to it when you're in a taller gear going slower, but make sure you're just in the proper gear for the speed that you're going, and it should activate pretty fast compared to using the throttle. Let's go off the curb. Whee! Definitely felt the front suspension working, but the rear suspension is non-existent, so it kind of felt really hard in the back. So just make sure if you jump off a curb or something like that, you're definitely not going to want to be sitting down, because that's not going to feel very good. But one thing we can check out right now, because it is nighttime and I got my review a little late in the day, is that we can see how this headlight looks. Now I'm still going to do a separate video on it, and we'll check it out when we like go back and forth to work. But it's performing pretty well just to see like right in front. I don't have any complaints with it yet. All right, so we're back off-road because we got to go back the same way so we can get back to the house and give you my final thoughts on it. But I will say that even though there's no rear suspension on this bike, it feels really good. It's actually pretty comfortable compared to other things I've ridden. Now the seat, on the other hand, it's kind of 50-50. I'm not gonna say it's the best seat out there, but I'm not really having too much of a problem with it. But it also needs to be raked up a little higher for me. And what I mean by that is not the seat going up, but the actual slant of the seat needs to be a little bit adjusted for me riding, because I feel like I'm going to slip off the front of the seat. Now, one other thing we gotta try is how the horn sounds when we're out here. All right, truck. It's okay. It's not the best, but it honestly sounds like every other e-bike we get. Nothing special about it. Not an actual horn. It's just whatever. Now, one thing that trips me out on this bike is the fact that when you hit the power button, it does nothing. When you hit this is obviously the headlight button. When you hit that, that's the horn button. The other two buttons you have are for pedal assist from 0 to 5. There is no actual menu button to bring up anything. There's no voltage. I'm assuming this is the battery that's on both sides of this speedometer right here, so all those green bars, but there's no actual percentage. There's nothing. I don't even like these battery bars. There's like 15 of these things over here. Like, I don't even understand it. So I'm not a huge fan of trying to understand my range, because so far we have went 6 miles. That's what my phone says. On here, it does say 6.2 miles, and that sounds about right, because if the speed matches up with GPS on your phone, then that means your trip is also going to be the same as well, your mileage, I should say. So that's good on that. But I just don't really know my battery bars. I have no idea. I do like the little power thing that kind of goes around. It's a little laggy, but that's kind of cool. And you notice I had to move this screen over. Normally it'd be in the center, but this is the only way I found my phone to fit. It actually took me like 15 minutes to get this mounted, because I was gonna put my phone up here. It doesn't work. I was trying to put it up here. It was slanted off to the side. So the only spot you're gonna be able to put your phone is right where I put it or on this side, and you're gonna have to move the screen, but it's not that big of a deal. But I should say, you do not need your phone up here unless you want a text message and you don't want to pull it out of your pocket, because since the speed matches up, why do you need your phone up here with your speedometer? You just don't. Another key point to mention is that I felt a little bit of vibration on this bike, and it's not at every single time riding the bike, but it's coming from the rear motor. It gives a little bit of vibration and it's transferring into the seat, and I can feel it. It's nothing crazy. It's not gonna steer you away from buying this bike, but it's just something to mention. If you guys want a nice, very smooth, comfortable bike with no vibrations, nothing, this probably won't be the bike for you, but it's not a deal breaker for me. So here's something that I wanna try is I wanna go down into pedal assist 0, and the throttle doesn't work. The torque sensor power's not gonna work. So this is now a bike just to pedal it if you ran out of power. A lot of you guys like to see how that is, so I'm gonna try that out. I do gotta drop my gears though, because I am way too high to be pedaling at 0 miles per hour. But okay, here we go. That's the lowest gear I can go into. This feels pretty good. This is not bad. Now my feet are moving pretty fast, but this is actually not that bad. I might have to go up 1 gear. Okay, that feels a lot better. So I can do a solid 9 to 10 miles per hour. But I will say I probably wouldn't want to do this more than maybe 3 or 4 miles. It's actually on the better side of bikes to pedal if you break down or whatever happens. But I still wouldn't want to do this. It's going to definitely be a workout. But you can do it if you need to. The next thing I want to try out is in pedal assist 1 and you use the throttle, what speed does it go up to? Or is it unlimited in every single pedal assist? It seems like it's unlimited as long as you have it on any type of pedal assist. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at right now. Let me go back and let's try out the pedals and see how fast we can go in each mode. Like 10 miles an hour, 9 miles an hour, number 1. Let's see, number 2. Bump this up a little bit. But like 15, and that's as much as I can do. Like I'm ghost pedaling at that point. Let's go up to 3. 3 is very similar. 16 miles an hour, 17. Let's go up to 4. 18, roughly. Yeah, 18, maybe 19. Yeah, 18, 19, and 4. And number 5 is just unlimited. We can go as fast as we want. But I also feel like I'm ghost pedaling at like 19, 20 miles an hour. So it's really hard to make this bike go any faster if all you want to do is pedal after 20 miles an hour. You're literally just gonna be flaring your legs all over the place. Okay guys, so final conclusion on this bike. Where do we start? Now, first I wanna say that maybe I'm biased towards this bike, but when I got it in and saw the color, saw the tires, saw the wood, it's a very well-built bike. Even the stem and all this kind of stuff right here, the bearings that go in there, everything felt nice and smooth. Just a little attention to detail on this bike alone, you'll notice it when you see it in person compared to other bikes. And just trust me on this, I've seen about 50 e-bikes with riding everything out there. This is a very high quality e-bike. Now, it's not gonna be above and beyond for the price that it's listed at, which to me at $1,800 isn't that bad of an e-bike. Especially, you gotta remember, it's a torque sensor e-bike, there's a little bit more expensive, and it has the inverter option. If you don't really need that option, then maybe just look at another bike. But the fact that you can add that down the road if you want to spend that extra $400, that's pretty cool, I think. And then they do have a front basket that matches this, and I think that would just look so nice and sick on this bike. Now the seat I like, it is nice and wide. I feel like it'd be a little tiny bit better, but I think if I just raked it up a little bit more in the front, I wouldn't feel like I was gonna slide off of it, and I think I'd be okay. But there are a lot better seats out there, but this is actually on the better side of seats. Now moving on to the front, I normally don't wear gloves, but I did wear them tonight because it was super cold out and we have a freeze storm warning coming. But I never really got to feel how this little gel pad felt on the handlebar grips. I don't know, I never felt anything different. It felt perfectly fine, but I mean, I think it's just an extra touch to be like, hey, look, we got this. But to me, it didn't do anything. The throttle on the left-hand side is perfectly fine. You'll get used to it. It's very nice. You might want to wear gloves though, because it does have some hard lines in it, so it might hurt your thumb over time and give you some indentation, especially if you just hold that throttle down 24/7. The brakes work fantastic. Kilometer management is a little messy. The screen is okay, but the fact that there's no extra menus to get in for like trip, odometer, all that little tiny stuff. Now they do have trip and time on here, but That's all you get. Like, I don't see anything else on this bike that you can like look at, like battery percent or voltage. That's just a big downside to me. I'm not a big fan. The shifter, on the other hand, was great. The headlight seemed okay, but we'll do a separate video on it and we'll see how that performs, because I don't know yet. I don't want to make a judge on that, so you got to stay tuned to the second video. But you can get an idea after seeing the riding footage that we just did on how it looked. Now, the torque sensor on this bike, I'm not a huge fan of torque sensors. They do feel good for people that like to pedal this bike, but me personally, I don't pedal, so a cadence sensor being on the cheaper side of e-bikes, I'd rather have that and save a couple $100 off a torque sensor. But I think the biggest pro of this bike is really going to be for you short people out there that are looking for a bike that especially easy to get in. So you just basically put your foot over and you can slide onto it. You don't have to do one of these because it's a full frame going all the way to the top. So I like the fact that you guys can ride this if you're probably 5 foot and up to 6 foot. So that is super cool with this bike. The power was okay. It's, how can I explain it? It's almost as good as any other bike out there, kind of, that's a actual class 3 e-bike that's legal. But I was never able to actually hit 28 miles per hour. So when I came in here, the highest top speed I hit was 27.4. But let's get into the range and everything like that. So I did 8 miles on this bike, and I'm looking at this and all I see is like 9 battery bars or 8 battery bars. I don't know. I don't even know where we started at. Did we start at 10? I don't even know. I can't tell you where the battery is at on this thing, but I am definitely going to charge it before I go to work, because I don't know if it's almost dead or half dead. I don't know. I do know they say you get about 60 to 80 miles of range, but I'm going to call that out and say, honestly, for almost a 20 amp hour battery and a 48 volt bike at that, I don't think you're going to get more than 25 miles out of this bike. But if you do use pedal assist 1 and actually use a torque sensor bikes will actually get you more range compared to a cadence sensor. So I do think that you can get up to probably double the range that I'm telling you. Maybe like 45, 50 miles of range if you really baby this thing, do 6 to 8 miles per hour and just use it as a like slow cruiser on like a trail or something like that. But it's also going to depend on your weight and depend on a lot of stuff. But it's a great bike, guys. I think it's one of the best looking bikes that I've gotten in a while, and I was very surprised on this one. I actually almost didn't accept this bike, and I'm kind of glad I did, because trust me, if you guys order it, you're gonna see the quality that's put into the components of this bike. Trust me, it just looks nice. There's no messed up pieces on this thing where it's like, oh, that's kind of janky put together. No, it's not on this bike. So hopefully I helped you guys. If you guys were looking at maybe buying this bike or maybe even have one, drop a comment, let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you guys are gonna stick around for part number 2 when I take this thing to work. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.